Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I do appreciate you coming, and I do appreciate uh, you listening. Ladies and gentlemen, uh, this is very difficult to say, very difficult to talk about, but it needs to be discussed. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have to speak on the issue of Afghanistan. We have to fight for the rights of the Afghan people, but we are no longer in a position now to where we are able to support them because we have no boots on the ground. And ladies and gentlemen, we must now fight for Afghanistan in a different way. We must, ladies and gentlemen, pray for the people of Afghanistan. We have to pray for Afghan Christians who are seriously now at risk and have to go in hiding. We have to pray for Afghan women who are now in the clutches of the Taliban and who will face terrible depravities. And we have to pray for the Panjshir resistance, which is now Afghanistan's last and only hope for freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, in the past, the United States stood for freedom. In World War II, the United States defeated Nazi Germany and neo-imperialist Japan. In the Cold War, we held back the DPRK in Korea. In two wars, in the Gulf War and in the Iraq War, we defeated and crushed the Ba'athist regime under Saddam Hussein. The United States, under the Obama and under the Trump administration, broke the back of ISIL. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we have repeated, unfortunately, not victory, but cowardice. In the 70s, we abandoned our allies, South Vietnam, to the communists. In the 80s, we abandoned our Lebanese Christians to the PLO and to Hezbollah and to essentially Syria and to Iran. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have done the same thing. We have abandoned Afghanistan over to the Taliban. This is absolutely abhorrent. The effects of this and the ramifications for this are terrible. Make no mistake about that, ladies and gentlemen. The position that we have put the Afghan people in, it's just absolutely abhorrent. And for us as a former ally, to do this to an ally, to do this to the people of Afghanistan, is just utterly atrocious. It is utterly disgusting. And what have we done? I mean, that's all I can say. What have we done? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you some news about this and give you my thoughts, because it is extremely important, ladies and gentlemen, for Christians across the globe to pray for and support Afghanistan. So I want to bring some of this to your attention. So, Business Insider. The Taliban flew a Black Hawk helicopter over a parade of military equipment captured when it overran Afghanistan. This is about 8 hours from now. So I want you to see that, ladies and gentlemen. The United States government told us that the equipment they would be leaving would not be usable to the Taliban. And yet you see right there, Taliban flying an American helicopter. They paraded it in Kandahar. They have Humvees, multi-purpose trucks. They have captured an arsenal of weaponry. And as you can see right here, ladies and gentlemen, these Afghans are armed. These Taliban are armed with former Afghan and former U.S. military uniforms. They have guns, American Humvees, as you can see right there. Lots of equipment. There's the flag of the Taliban. so there's no confusion. And this is just the biggest insult you can think of. The Taliban are now essentially mocking the US, flying a helicopter. And that's not the only one they've probably captured and that they will be using. As you can see right here, they have now captured American and a former Afghan weaponry that has allowed them to arm themselves to the teeth. And here is some words we have right here. We don't have a complete picture, obviously, of where every article of defense materials has gone, but certainly a fair amount of it has fallen into the hands of the Taliban. Jake Sullivan, the White House National Security Advisor, said a few days after the fall of the Afghan capital. They don't know all the numbers. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, what the heck is going on? I mean, we were told, General Kenneth F. McKenzie, head of U.S. Central Command, on Monday said the military made sure all the military equipment, ground vehicles, and aircraft that were left at the airport were unusable. But while assets at the airport might be inoperable, again, maybe, there is an arsenal of weapons, military gear, and wet vehicles that the Taliban seized from the Afghan army and the U.S. And, ladies and gentlemen, this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what the Taliban is going to be doing. It's absolutely horrible. And we've given it to them. And can you imagine what they're going to do with this equipment? They're going to kill Afghan Christians. They're going to persecute and kill Afghan women. They're going to kill and persecute anyone who stands in their way. And I want to talk about what's going to happen to Christians in the region, because this is what is, to me, is very highly concerning, that Christians in the region are going to face massive persecution. So here's an article from World Catholic News. Afghan Christians vows to continue God's work under the Taliban rule. So as you can see right here, Taliban are raising their flag in a very similar manner to the famous World War II photo, mocking the US essentially. So an Afghan Christian has tearfully pleaded with Christians across the globe to not forget the underground church following the takeover of his country. In the 4-minute video, the man says he feels abandoned under Taliban rule, but pledges to continue God's work in the war-torn country. Global Catalyst Ministries, a Christian group, published the footage on August 19th, several days after the Taliban captured Afghan capital and established control over the Central Asian country. Obviously, they would blur his face, and obviously there's an English barrier, but going to it though, despite the tears and fears that have gripped the small Christian community, the man declares, "We are not leaving the field." And so he also states that only God understands how much pain we have and how much our hearts are. I don't know what the future of this country will be. We are not able to control emotions because we've worked so hard for 20 years. All our work over the past 20 years has been lost overnight. And you can thank President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris for that. We are not crying out of fear, but because our hearts ache for our beautiful country, it has now been destroyed by this savage extremist group. Every precious thing of value in our nation has been destroyed. Exactly. Christians feel abandoned by the international community and left in a terrible situation. Yeah, he's right. They were abandoned. The whole world has abandoned us. Those who said they support us have now abandoned us to the worst situation imaginable. I don't know what is going to happen to us. And yeah, he's right. A leader of a Christian nation, the United States, President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, have essentially said to Afghan Christians, "You're on your own." How can a Christian nation do this to fellow Christians? And it says, "My friends, we record this video today as a testimony. We want to remain in history. We want to be remembered by our friends and loved ones that today we have been left in the field by ourselves. But we are not leaving the field. We'll fight harder and we'll continue in God's work." And he's appealed to us to remember them and keep them in mind and to pray for them. We are no longer with you. Remember this world from our unbroken hearts. Please do not leave them alone. Please take care of them. Please do not abandon them. I'm sorry I cried and became emotional. My heart hurts. Send this to all your friends as a remembrance. I hope this finds you under our Heavenly Father's shelter. Amen. Can you believe that? That this Christian person from Afghanistan still has the love of a Christian to say to Christians across the globe, and Christian leaders across the globe, despite them abandoning Afghanistan, despite them abandoning fellow Christians to the Taliban, he has the beautiful heart to say, to wish us well and to pray for us. Can you believe this? What we have done? How can we do this? To abandon our fellow Christians out there to the mercy of the Taliban. This is just horrific. I mean, and that people like them are actually praying for us. My goodness, where have we gone? What we have lost our way. It's just horrific. We've so just lost our way. And here's another one. Some CDN, some Communities Digital News. It's calling for us to pray for the Afghan Christians Biden is abandoning the Taliban executions. And as you see right here, there is a Afghan person, obviously hidden and obscured for obvious reasons to protect their identity, who is somewhere in Afghanistan praying and keeping the faith. We talk about it's so easy to be a Christian here in the West, but in places like this, being a Christian, that takes real sacrifice. That is totally different. So we have some terrible news here. The Taliban are hunting Christians in Afghanistan. In fact, the UK Express reports that the Taliban are going door to door looking for Christians. And if they discover a Bible app on your phone, it brings instant death. People here in America abandon the faith for just being picked on. These people literally are willing to die for their faith. It just puts us all to shame. Will America allow Biden to abandon Christians to be tortured or murdered by the Taliban without even a single word in their defense? Well, yes, he has done that, ladies and gentlemen. He has done that. Fact of the matter is that we have to pray for them. One of the key for something that we have to remember in the prayer, deliver us from evil, Matthew 6:13. We should be praying for the people of Afghanistan with that verse right there, saying, Heavenly Father, please deliver the people of Afghanistan. Please, deliver them from evil. Sadly, for tens of thousands of Christians, the commander-in-chief does not want to hear their pleas or prayers, but he is fully prepared to deliver Afghan Christians directly into the hands of evil. And he did so. Does Biden even understand? I don't think the president does. When you see stuff like this, in which people are literally giving their babies over to U.S. troops in the most desperate attempt just to save any member of their family from the horrors of the Taliban, that should tell you something. For Biden to abandon Afghan Christians to impeding religious extinction should be alarming to those Christians. Yes, it should. It should be alarming to any Christian whatsoever. And Biden claiming, according to NPR, that his campaign was a battle for the soul of the nation, and when he seeks to inspire or comfort, he turns to his faith. His speeches are full of references to God, biblical language, and the Pope. Well, unfortunately, Biden's Pope speech reference guiding his indifference concern to atrocities of persecuted Christians may have been from Pope Pius the 12th. See, ladies and gentlemen, this president that we have now, he doesn't give a damn about Afghan Christians. He doesn't care about the persecution that they are going to face. He doesn't care one bit for them. He doesn't care what's going to happen to them. He has said to them, essentially, You are on your own. And for anyone who calls himself a Christian to abandon their fellow Christians when they desperately call for our help, when they definitely beg us to save them, that person's not a Christian. And we're going to continue to look over some more very concerning information because there's so much to talk about, and we have to discuss the issues. And so right here, we have information about female MPs hiding from the Taliban trapped in Kabul. Let's take a listen.
The second big indicator of Taliban direction of travel, what happens to women in the new Afghan regime? There were 69 women MPs in the previous government, a symbol of a country starting to change. That was before Kabul fell 2 weeks ago. Now, some of those female MPs stuck in the city and in hiding.
Hello, can you hear me?
There are 3 women MPs in the Kufi family. One of those MPs is Mariam here on the right, with one of her daughters, Marwa. These are the pictures of their evacuation out of Kabul to the UK a week ago. Lives forged in the history of turmoil. Mariam gave birth to Marwa while fleeing from the Taliban the first time round in the 90s.
Half an hour after she was born, I wrapped her up and started moving towards Pakistan.
Wow, I didn't know this story too.
In August this year, 2 weeks before the fall of Kabul, a bomb went off outside their house.
The situation was awful. Within the course of a month, I'd lost everything.
Mariam is in regular contact with other women MPs still stuck in Kabul.
My request to the UK government is help the women specifically. If the Taliban get hold of them, women are tortured more than men.
This mother and daughter story is the story of modern-day Afghanistan. The question now, what will their lives tell us next about the future of their homeland?
So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have essentially sacrificed not just Afghan Christians, but Afghan women over to the Taliban on a silver platter. That's right, on a silver platter. This is just utterly horrific. You know, when the Bible talks about defending the innocent and protecting the innocent, you know, it calls on Christians and people of faith to stand up for the rights of the innocent and to not allow evil to reign supreme. It says, overcome evil with good. Now, what does that mean? That means that good must fight evil. Good must overcome evil. It means that good must defeat evil. And what we have told our Afghan allies and these women is that we're not going to help them. And there are still so many Afghan women trapped in the country. What are we going to do? What have we done to them? We have ruined their futures. We have absolutely failed them. And I'm utterly appalled of what we've done, of how we failed them. I'm just utterly appalled. And it should shock the sensibilities of every person out there, of everyone, of every person who is of faith and who's not even non-religious, to say to these people, the Afghans, that you're on your own. Well, not in my book. We need to support Afghans and support the Panjshir resistance. So let's continue on. I want us to, now that we've gone into that, talked about the Panjshir, mentioned the Panjshir resistance, I want us to look at what they are doing and examine how they are fighting the Taliban. So let's take a look at this video, which will show how the Panjshir resistance is standing up to the Taliban. Based. Yes, they should be. Support the resistance. And that's the great thing about the Panjshir Valley. It is a region where it's a defender's dream and an attacker's nightmare. Hopefully they'll get more. Carrying on the legacy of his father, that man is based. Yeah, see, right here, the Tajikistan government is supporting the resistance with guns. So it makes sense. Why aren't we supporting them? It's critically important. Excuse me, everyone. Sorry, everyone, I'm back. And as you can see right here, the Tajikistan government is going to support the Panjshir resistance. the Tajikistan president, Emolai Rahmon, is that they're not going to support the Taliban. And in a great show, they removed the portrait of Ashraf Ghani and replaced it with Amru Saleh to represent the new Afghan government, which shows you, ladies and gentlemen, that there are Afghans out there other people out there who are looking at the resistance and say, we're going to support them. And this isn't just propaganda. This isn't just, well wishes. We have seen how the resistance have made great efforts. So there's a great Twitter page right here from an Afghan commando who is still fighting against the against the Taliban. And it's warning: 135 Taliban killed by resistance in Panjshir and 45 in Kapisa in 24 hours. 5,000 commandos waiting in the Panjshir armed with helis, Humvees, and heavy artillery. We are no ordinary commandos. We are the ones that refuse to surrender and will fight to the death. Welcome to Panjshir. And let's take a look at this. So here's some American equipment, Afghan equipment. As you can see, they are getting their supplies ready. They're getting armed, and they are preparing to fight back. And every single Afghan Christian should be supporting them, and they will be. They will all be praying for them, and we need to pray for them. Because there is an uncertain fate, persecutionchristianconcern.org, persecution.org, uncertain fate for Afghan Christians. The future of the country's Christian populations grows more uncertain. The U.S. troop withdrawal has increased a climate of insecurity in the country, and we know that now because this is a little old. This was in 2021, before Afghanistan completely fell to the Taliban. And we must support the Afghan Christians, whatever the structure of the church inside Afghanistan. If the Taliban assumes full control, as they have, the Afghan church will face a difficult road. Women's rights, which have increased over the years, will likely be rolled back. And the investment of nearly $1 trillion in the 20-year-long conflict will have shown little to terms of sustainable development and progress. And this is what's happened to those Christians. We abandoned them. We left them alone. And this is awful. And there are still people out there, though, who are still working to help Christians in Afghanistan. So Global Catholic Ministries keeps Afghan Christians alive. This was just yesterday. While today marks the end of an active U.S. military presence in Afghanistan, diplomats announced Sunday the Taliban will allow evacuation flights to continue after August 31st. Yeah, I believe that. The State Department says Sunday there are up to 250 Americans still in Afghanistan who are indicated they are trying to get out, in addition to roughly 280 others who have yet to decide whether they want to leave the country or stay. If I were there, I would stay and go to the resistance and fight with them. I hope they take foreign volunteers, and if they are, then I would gladly go. The Islamic State fired rockets at U.S. troops yesterday amid hurried evacuation flights. Local believers say Islamic State fighters battle alongside the Taliban, ignoring their differences until all infidels are caught, tortured, and killed. So, ladies and gentlemen, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, they are all the same. They are one of the same feather. The Taliban blamed ISIS-K for suicide bombings last week at the Kabul airport that killed more than 100 Afghans and 13 U.S. troops. They're the same thing. And you see right here that 100 Afghans died, 13 U.S. troops died. I want you to remember this. Afghans have died in greater numbers than the U.S. troops have died. 2,000 plus U.S. troops have died in Afghanistan. Over 60,000 Afghan troops died in the 20-year war. I want you to think about that. That's like almost 30 times what we lost. They've lost more than 30 times that. And Afghan Christians are hiding for now, but they want to stay and reach their neighbors for Christ despite the increased risk. And that just, that should inspire everyone here, because the fact that they're taking all these risks despite the dangers is incredible. And he says right here, believers are running for their lives. They're literally running to the mountains and the hills. It's kind of ironic, with the places where the Taliban are hiding come out, now believers are going to these places. And the fact of the matter is that their danger increases. Taliban fighters, have a hit list, and they're looking for Christians. They're even killing EMT people because they work for the city. Can you believe that? This is the Taliban 2.0. They're coming back with a vengeance, and they are for purge. And this is right. They've been waiting 20 years for this, and this is what happens when you hand over a country literally on a silver platter to these evil people. I mean, it should shock all of our sensibilities what is going on. I mean, what is going on? How can we just let this happen? I mean, what is going on to this country? What are we doing? We have to support the Northern Alliance. We have to pray for them, and we have to work with them and try to assist them in whatever way possible. Now, who is the Northern Alliance, or the Second Resistance, or the Panjshir Resistance? Who are they? Well, I showed you earlier a little bit of a video, but now I'm going to show you an article sort of helping explain this resistance group. So what we have here is, this article from SOFREP. It's a military grade content. Who are the anti-Taliban resistant forces, and how long can they last? So the Panjshir Resistance, the National Resistance Front of Afghanistan, or the Second Resistance, has de facto control over Panjshir Province and Panjshir Valley. The group is a military coalition of former Northern Alliance members and anti-Taliban fighters who refer to themselves as to the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. They are led by the Afghan politician and military leader Ahmad Massoud and the first vice president Amrullah Saleh, who was born in Panjshir. And Ahmad Massoud is the son, remember, of famous Northern Alliance fighter Ahmad Shah Massoud, or the Lion of Panjshir, who fought both the Soviets and the Taliban, and was murdered by Al Qaeda just before September 11th happened. So where is Panjshir located? So we have here a map of Afghanistan. Right here in the red is Panjshir Valley. Okay, so this is the area in which the resistance are headquartered, not too far away from Kabul. They've headquartered over there because of the region is a great defensive position. There's tons of anti-Taliban support, and many members of the former military and of the other anti-Taliban groups have formed up here in order to begin the resistance. Now, the besieged province has only the Salang Highway connecting it to the rest of the country and no airport, which means supplying them will be difficult. But they have blocked the highway to prevent the Taliban coming in. Now, what's going to happen now? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is what Ahmad Massoud, who again is going to be essentially one of the big figures in this resistance, he has said, "Make this known, there is no question of giving up the fight. Here in Panjshir, our resistance is just beginning. We will not accept and impose peace, and we will resist until we achieve justice and freedom." And he added that many Afghans were flocking to the resistance. Now, we must continue to support them. We have to support them. Now, the fact of the matter is that the resistance cannot look to the West. It cannot. Further prospects of U.S. support seem bleaker. In a speech last week, President Biden made it abundantly clear that the U.S. isn't interested in being involved in Afghan affairs any longer. Therefore, covert assistance to the Panjshir, contrary to that provided during the Soviet occupation and the Taliban's first reign, does not seem likely. And that's true. And you cannot trust Pakistan. They cannot go to Pakistan because Pakistan essentially enabled the Taliban to take over Pakistan, because the Taliban are essentially Pakistani mercenaries in the employ and working for and paid for and trained by the Pakistani government. This is partly Imran Khan's fault. And Russia and China have already extended promises of legitimacy to the Taliban. So the Kremlin under Putin and the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, are looking at the Afghanistan and saying, well, it's now time to cash in. And Iran is no help either, because it provided aid to the Taliban in its war against the United States. And we have so what can the Panjshir resistance do? Well, everything is not lost. The Taliban are helping the cause of the resistance by their own heavy-handed actions, by executing former soldiers, interpreters, security, and government officials. The Taliban are driving members right into the resistance. Resultantly, there have been reports of large numbers of troops and vehicles and weapons streaming towards the Panjshir Valley, something hinted at by Massoud. And Massoud has been stockpiling arms and ammunition since the U.S. first began the withdrawal talks 2 years ago, which was smart. The minute that the United States was talking about withdrawal, you need to get arms and guns, because you can't if America, the superpower, decides to be a small power and abandon you, you've got to be prepared to fight. And he said that his forces are bolstered by a few thousand Afghan and army soldiers and commandos who refuse to surrender. Well, God bless them, and please, let's pray for them. Where do they go to? Well, they've got to get assistance. So the second resistance may hope for assistance from India. India might decide to recognize the legitimacy of resistance as it seeks to disrupt the activities of China, Turkey, and Pakistan. And you know what? We have to support them. There are others. They've even gathered, support from Uzbeks, like Abdul Rashid Dostum. The militia forces of Dostum are believed to have flown several Mi-35 helicopters and an A-29 attack aircraft to Uzbekistan. Now, it's going to be a problem to get them over the border, but the fact of the matter is that the people here in the Panjshir resistance, they cannot rely on the U.S. They must rely now, unfortunately, on themselves or try to get assistance from India. And this is all our fault. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the United States' fault. We never should have left. We abandoned the people of Afghanistan to the Taliban. We essentially told them that you're on your own. And this is just absolute. It's criminal in every sense of the word. It is absolutely awful. It's awful because we have essentially told Afghan Christians, you are on your own. We've told Afghan women, you're on your own. And we have told the people of Afghanistan that when it comes to the terrorist Taliban, you're on your own. And this is just god awful. This just cannot stand. And I want you, my viewers, to take a look at this video made by a friend of mine on Twitter, Henry. Now, I'm not going to post the whole video because we're hitting on the 40-minute mark. I don't want to go more than 45 minutes. But this is my friend Henry on Twitter. His Twitter handle is American Madhouse. And I'm going to post this in the chat for you so you can all take a look at that later. But the video that he made right here, in which talks about how this withdrawal has been literally a disaster, not just in terms of abandoning our civilians and allies, abandoning U.S. citizens, but also just in general, abandoning, the people of Afghanistan to this horrible regime. And so I posted the link right there to that video, and I hope you will all take a look. And I'm even going to also post the link to his Twitter account, since there's a lot so that way you have that also at least, and so that way you can also find that video that we just stated. You can find that on his Twitter account. So that's the Twitter account right there, twitter.com American Madhouse. And I implore you all to please watch it. It's about a 25-minute video, but granted there'll be some cursing in there, which I don't, but really you need to listen to it because it is so important. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to begin to close out this stream because we've already. Usually my videos, my own personal videos, don't go this long, but I just want to say this, ladies and gentlemen, we need to pray for Afghanistan. Every single Christian in America, in Great Britain, in France, in NATO, everywhere needs to be praying for Afghanistan. We have to pray for the Christians of Afghanistan. We have to pray that they will be protected, that they will be looked after, that they will be protected by angels against these demons in human form, which are the Taliban. We have to pray that they will be looked after and protected. We have to also pray for the women of Afghanistan, that God will protect them and look after them and will keep them safe from these Taliban demons who are going door to door looking for Christians, looking for women to forcibly marry off to their fighters. We have to pray for the Panjshir resistance. We have to pray that they will be able to withstand the storm that they are about to face. We have to pray that they will be able to fight off, defeat, and eventually crush the Taliban, because the United States has decided to abandon our friends and our allies. And as Raj N states here, the last and only hope for Afghanistan is the Northern Alliance. And that person's right, but not just the Panjshir resistance, God. If God is for me, who can be against me? And we have to be praying for them, because our president has chosen the so-called Christian president, that he has abandoned them. Well, we cannot. True Christians out there cannot abandon the Afghans to the Taliban. We must pray. And we must pray that God will stand with the people of Afghanistan and protect them and put a hedge of protection around them, and that God will confuse and disable and disrupt the Taliban, and that God will be there for the Panjshir resistance, protect them, give them the guns they need, the weapons they need, the support they need. Enough is enough. Ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate you tuning in. I do appreciate you listening in. Please pray for the Panjshir resistance. Please pray for Afghan Christians. Please pray for Afghan women. Do not let them be abandoned. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you all. Death to all tyrants and death to the Taliban.